5 years ago on Mission Bay in San Diego, the Miss Madison, piloted by Michael Hansen, claimed her 5th and to date final win. We have yet to see the oldest continual race team in action this season. Until today, the Miss Madison is in her home court looking for that elusive win number 6. Welcome to ESPN Speed World coverage of the Ralph's UHRA Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas at the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup on the Ohio River in Madison, Indiana. And the rest of the country, it may be Labor Day weekend. Here in Madison, it's still Independence Day. Hello, everybody. I'm John Mickelson. Traditionally, the big race is held here in Madison over the 4th of July weekend, but this year, the river was too high, so they put it off till Labor Day weekend. That proved to be an opportunity for this community, which owns the Miss Madison racing team. The team lost its sponsor at the end of last year, had not run this year, but the extra time gave the team a chance to raise the money and run here. That makes 38 consecutive years racing, the most of any team in unlimited hydroplane racing. Now the challenge for Mike Hansen and the gangs to try to pull off the big upset, beating the teams including the Miss Budweiser. That's going to be some challenge. Another team really had a scramble to be here. Let's go to my partner Steve Montgomery for that story.
The first blowover accident of Steve David's unlimited driving career came right here in Madison, Indiana in 1995. The second, less than a month ago. Steve David and the Freddy's Club thundering into the treacherous north turn on Lake Washington, right beside Mark Evans in the Pico American Dream. The Freddy's Club tangled with a skid fin roller, and the ensuing accident was a bad one. Steve David, the damage was minor, a broken toe, and he is here, ready to go. But Steve, the real story is that your boat is here.
Amazing. The boat was absolutely destroyed. In fact, it was broken in half right where Prime Star is. In less than 3 weeks, the guy built a brand new boat for me.
No sleep for the crew, a long trip to Madison, and I know you haven't had much time in the boat since it got fixed.
No, really just 2 laps yesterday, but I'm ready to win this thing today. The boat was winning when we went over in Seattle, and I think we've got all the combination to make that happen again today.
Has to be a little hesitation getting back in.
That's what yesterday was for, was to get back in, the boat comfortable with me comfortable with the boat, and in that 2 laps, we're back in a loving relationship, ready to race.
As he told us in Seattle, the Chihuahua is back. Now back to John for a recap of Heat 1A.
A power outage in the judges' stand killed the clock for Heats 1A and 1B. So for the first time since last season, it was a flag start. But in Heat 1A, Dave Villwock and Budweiser were still the team to beat. Here they were coming up to the start line. You see Villwock took lane 2. He had the first choice, the Master Tire on the outside, Miss Madison in lane 3, and on the inside, Dr. Ken Muscatel, Steve.
The course here, very narrow, John. Lane 1 historically has not been the place to be. Lane 2, generally ideal, and that's right where Villwock put the Budweiser here.
From the O'Doul's eye in the sky, look at how Dave Villwock jumped out to a big lead down the backstretch, the Kentucky side of the river, opening it up. Later on, Dave flying the boat. This is the only course, by the way, on the circuit with a bridge in the middle of it. Dave around the far turn with a good-sized lead over Miss Madison and Michael Hansen. On board the Bud, smooth ride for Dave Villwock. Smooth as glass. It's a cliche, but here it's really true. So Dave Villwock with an easy win in Heat 1A. Michael Hansen second in the Miss Madison. Dr. Ken Muscatel takes third. And bringing up the rear, the piston-powered Master Tire with Mark Webber at the helm. So Dave Villwock off to his usual good start, picks up 400 points for the Budweiser team and 300 for the Miss Madison team. That is a nice job. Down on the dock, the whole Bud gang was there with Steve.
Excellent. David, how about you? Any pressure having the big boss here?
Well, you know, it's great to have the support of August, Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser, O'Doul's, Las Vegas, all the people that help us, you know, in this Ralph's tour. So, you know, we're just real pleased to have the Miss Budweiser here and have it running really good, you know. We got a great team and we're having fun today.
Mr. Busch, your guys in red having a great season so far.
Dave has done an excellent job, and this whole crew works extremely well together, which is the key to winning. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Good, Dave. Very good.
Michael back in the saddle, second place, has to feel pretty good.
Yeah, there's only one thing I feel any better, but, you know, that red boat's awful tough. And with us having to run the flag start that particular time and giving him an inside lane on us, you know, it was awful tough to get around him. But we hung with him for a lap or 2.
Boat looks good.
It always has looked good. It's just a different color now.
After watching Dave Villwock win from lane 2 in Heat 1A, The top qualifier in 1B, Mike Weber in Carpenter Communications, also selected lane 2. Didn't work out quite as well for him. Pico American Dream on the inside of the Carpenter Communications, and Steve David in the Freddy's Club was in lane 3 in this one. Pretty good start for all 3 boats. Steve David a bit far to the outside as we look from the O'Doul's eye in the sky, but Pico nicely tight to the buoy, Steve.
And Steve David finding out in the Freddy's Club Prime Star the hull, which was so badly damaged, is fine, has a sour motor, as is often the case when a team has been concentrating on the hull. This one just wasn't a player.
Mark Evans opened up a good lead over the Carpenter Communications. Steve David trailing. Then Mike Weber was able to pull back and get closer. But around the turn, once again, Evans and the Pico opened up a good lead and eventually was able to hold on to it here in Heat 1B. A nice job of driving this boat. Pico, as we've said many times these years, had some trouble with getting its real speed. 1 win so far. So far, so good on this day.
The Pico motors, by the way, were re-dynoed before this race, and they have high hopes, John, that the rest of the season they are going to see some of that old horsepower back.
Here's the end of Heat 1 as Mark Evans driving the Pico strong took first place. Mike Weber second in the Carpenter Communications, and bringing up the rear, Steve David with a boat not quite as fast as he would like, but still glad to be out there and racing in the Freddy's Club. And in this case, 225 points for third place. Pico 400, that ties it with the Bud so far, and Steve talked with the winning driver.
Mark, it's a victory, but how's the horsepower? Can you run with the red boat?
Well, I think so. You know, we're doing pretty good. It feels really good. It's great that we got to run in the inside lane right off the bat, and we know we can hold that. So good to start out with a win for Pico and thanks to Ralph's and Las Vegas for all having us here. Okay, man, let's do it.
ESPN Speed World coverage of the UHRA Budweiser Indiana Governors Cup is brought to you by Ralph's, first in savings, first in Southern California. By Las Vegas, anything can happen and usually does when it comes to special events. And by O'Doul's non-alcoholic brew. It's what beer drinkers drink when they're not drinking beer. Welcome back to Madison. The driver's getting set for the start of Heat 3A. First, we want to show you what happened in 2A. Here's Steve to set it up.
The draw for Heats 2A and 2B came up exactly the same, remarkably enough, as 1A and 1B, meaning that Mike Hansen and the Miss Madison, after that long layoff, would have to race Miss Budweiser again. The good news for the hometown team, another second-place finish, and they'd be in great shape to make the final. Here's what happened.
The clock was up and running again for Heat 2, and this time Dave Villwalk and Miss Budweiser had to grab lane 2. He did that again. It was Ken Muscatel on the inside and Miss Madison in lane 3 with Michael Hansen.
And look at the boat speed of the Miss Madison. Every time we see this boat, we make this remark, but this old hull is really a runner. You would not know that they had been out of action for nearly a year.
From the O'Doul's eye in the sky, you see the lead that Dave Villwalk opened up around the first turn. To give you an idea, he qualified the boat at almost 161 miles an hour, and Miss Madison was just under 150. Quite a difference in the boat speed, and yet, as Steve says, a mighty good performance after all that layoff for the Miss Madison team. Later on in the heat, Villwalk driving it strong around the turn. Boy, the Budweiser team has got this boat going so well all year long.
And there in the far left corner of your picture, you saw the Madison just brushing one of those marker buoys and one of those big cement stanchions that holds up the bridge over the Ohio River here. The drivers tell me not a big factor, John. I think it'd make me a little nervous.
Yeah, I think perhaps it would. Well, Dave was able to take first again. Michael Hansen second once again in the Miss Madison. And third place this time went to Mark Weber in the Master Tire. Difficulties for Dr. Ken Muscatel in Heat 2A. So there's a difference. The perfect 800 points after 2 for the Bud and 600 for Miss Madison. And Steve talked to first and second place.
Michael, back in the boat after a year, 2 times out, 2 second places. You have to be pleased with that.
Yeah, we are. We just got to quit drawing that red boat, evidently. You know, they're awfully strong, but, you know, we're happy. I mean, this is a success, just us being here. The city putting together the money to make it possible for us to go race this one event. And the boat's prepared to go do that, so we're real pleased.
Great to have you back.
We feel like winners already.
Dave, the wind picked up a little. Turn 2 looked a little rougher.
Yeah, but in the Budweiser, it was pretty smooth. The crew set it up really good. And so, you know, we were able to get through it okay. It's always going to be rough here in Madison. That's just how it is when the wind comes up a little bit.
Ernie, I guess you worried more than he did.
I did. I dared to.
After becoming the only team besides Budweiser to win an event this year with a victory in Kelowna, it was right back to tough times for Mark Evans and the Pico American Dream Team in Seattle. They failed to win a single heat there. Then here in Madison, a relatively easy win in Heat 1B, and in Heat 2B, it was a chance to get on a roll. And Mark Evans and the Pico did a pretty good job of getting on a roll, but not without the best competition so far today. Look at Carpenter in the inside there, jumping out to a big lead. Mike Weber driving that boat to a terrific start.
Mike Weber made a fabulous start. He's done a great job of driving this boat all year. The engine program stepped up over the winter. The horsepower is better. The ride is better than the whole Jones team, having a much better 1998. And Mike Weber, a big part of that improvement.
But Mark Evans was not about to let him go. He had a win so far. He's looking for another one, and look at him come up here on the outside as they approach the bridge around the second turn for the first time in these 3 laps.
That's a great shot right there. These are very long straightaways. The race course is a little bit narrow, which makes the straightaways longer. We're seeing very high shoot speeds here, and these two are side by side right around that 200-mile-per-hour mark.
Again, the difference in the qualifying speeds for these two boats, Carpenter at 148.449, Pico at 147.951. In other words, less than a half a mile an hour difference between them. You'd figure on a good race, and boy, this really was one.
And the fans who make the trip here to Madison, as thousands do for this race every year, get one of the closest looks at the big boats of anywhere on the circuit.
As they came into the turn, Mark Evans moved up, Mike Weber keeping it tight and just a little loose there as far as contact with the water, holding to the inside, keeping the buoys well, and making Mark Evans really work to catch him.
Mike Weber doing a good straight-up job at driving, not trying to push the blue boat around at all. And here's Steve David once again laboring a bit in the engine room and running back in 3rd place. But look at the leaders. What a great race.
Just phenomenally close as they go into the turn once again. And then Pico stepping on it, but the longer way to go. And look at how Mike Weber took advantage of being on the inside around the turn. But now watch Pico step on it. And then watch Mike Weber respond. It was back and forth each time around, every straightaway, every turn.
Once again, John, they're scraping off some speed in the turn coming out of that corner at around 150 to 160. At this point right here, they are closer to 200 miles per hour, and you can see how light the boats get now as the Pico moves into the lead.
Coming down to the finish, finally Mark Evans was able to get it done. He was the Heat 2B winner. And that's got to be a really good feeling for the whole crew there. A nice job by Mike Weber, just didn't quite have it all the way through, so he got second for the Carpenter Communications team. And Stephen David, frustration on the Freddy's Club Prime Star, but still it's good to see them racing at all. They can go from there. 800 points for the Pico American Dream. That means once again tied with Budweiser so far. 600 for the Carpenter. Down to the docks.
That was a fun one.
That was fun. Mark Evans, if it's okay with you, we're going to give this guy the most improved player trophy.
Okay, I'll go with that, man. The guys are running well. Mike Weber here is doing a great job. He's a sneaky driver. He likes to get the inside, stole it away from me, and we had to run him down. Had me nervous, but did a great job.
The best the Jones team has ever looked, Mike, and you got to take some of the credit.
Well, I'll take a little bit, but I tell you, the whole team has really busted their rear ends all winter, and we've made changes every race and just keep getting a little better, a little better. If we can get our consistency where, you know, to the level we need to be, boy, we can do something.
Good job.
All right. Thank you much. All right. Good job.
That was then. This is now. As we've said, we're getting set for the start of Heat 3A, and guess what? You got Carpenter and Pico again. Back to Madison. Stay with us on Speed World coverage.
Welcome back to Speed World coverage of the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup from Madison, Indiana. First event of the 1998 UHRA Thunder Tour since the departure of Commissioner Bill Donor. John had a word with the interim head man.
You've taken on a big task here, and that also is a great opportunity, I would think. What needs to be done? How do you plan to do it?
Well, first of all, you've got to look at the sport itself and the spectacle that it presents. And unlimited hydroplane racing has something of bigger than life quality. When you see 3.5-ton boats going down the water at 200 miles an hour and with a 7 or 8-ton rooster tail behind them, it's something that is very spectacular. But beyond that, there has to be a reasonable business approach, and we're creating a new business plan and sales and marketing plan to take the sport forward.
What do you need from the owners to make this work?
Money, more than anything else. The owners have to be well financed. This is professional sports. It's not a game. It's a very serious business, and they have to have good sponsors and be well financed. And if they aren't, they're not going to be successful.
What, if anything, can Hydro fans do?
Support our sponsors more than anything else. Tell the sponsors you like the sport. Tell the sponsors you buy their products. Let them know about it, because that's what drives the overall market.
Anything else you want to add?
Well, just that I have had a tremendous amount of cooperation from everyone within the sport and outside the sport, and I'm looking forward to a great term here.
Might we see you as a long-term commissioner?
It's possible. I've been asked to consider it, and I'm talking to the owners about it at this point.
A few words from interim commissioner Ned Allen as you saw Mike Weber in the Carpenter Communications struggling to get underway here for the running of Heat 3A, and he is running out of time.
That would be a shame after the terrific competition we just saw a couple minutes ago in the highlights of Heat 2B between the Carpenter and the Pico. But the Pico will be running hard in this one. We'll find out who's going to do what when our Speed World coverage continues from Madison, Indiana. Welcome back to Ralph's Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas. We're at the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup on the Ohio River in beautiful Madison, Indiana. They're coming up to the start, 23 seconds to go. Let's go down to Steve to set it up.
The draw for Heats 3A and 3B kind of flip-flopped the field. So here in 3A, we have the Pico American Dream, the Carpenter Communications, the Freddy's Club, and the Master Tire, the piston-powered boat, stays in the A section. Steve David and the Ailing Freddy's Club just hoping he can stay ahead of the piston boat and maybe make the final. Here's the start.
And if you were looking closely, you would see only 3 boats made the start. Unfortunately, Mike Weber not able to get the Carpenter Communication up and running from the O'Doul's Eye in the sky. Look at that good jump on the inside by Mark Evans and the Pico American Dream.
Really bad break for the Jones team because they were running very, very well. This will hurt their chances to make the final. Mark Evans, once again, a great start on the Pico and a little bit of life here out of the Freddy's Club Prime Star, running with him up the long back straight.
Steve David has it going, but watch as the angle changes. Here comes Mark Evans moving out to a good solid lead as they pass up toward turn 2 and head back around to the Indiana side of the race course. Steve David, though, still right there in the back of the rooster tail from the Pico.
Hydro fans across the country will observe the Pico still running the new low cowling. You should know that in qualifying, they did try one of the old ones, the higher profile, which brought in more air. No noticeable difference. So Fred is going to go with his new swoopy low and apparently the rest of the season now.
5 miles an hour difference in qualifying time for the Pico and the Freddy's Club. Almost 148 for the Pico and almost 143 miles an hour for the Freddy's Club. Again, from the O'Doul's Eye in the sky, we see Steve David trying to stay in touch with the Pico American Dream. Mark Evans now into the backstretch for the second time. We get his speed. Average lap speed for number 1, 135.810, or just about 136 miles an hour. Not bad.
Steve David and the Freddy's Club Prime Star down a little in horsepower, but the good news, John, a second place here is going to put him in very good shape in the final heat. So the draw has been pretty good to the Jim Harvey team.
Master Tire driving third. Mark Weber in there. Will pick up 225 points if Mark can keep it going all the way through. And they've been having good luck with that in the latter part of the season.
The piston boat always popular anywhere we go, especially here in Indiana. They are based in Evansville, just a few miles away.
Now here's Mark Evans opening up the lead as he passes the start-finish line into the white flag final lap of these 3. And it's very important here in terms of placement to come in on the top 4 because it's a narrow river. So in the final, 4 boats start up front, and then you have 2 trailers behind them.
actually makes it very difficult to make the front row in the final heat when only 4 boats are going to qualify. A great shot once again from our O'Doul's eye in the sky of this turn, which can be treacherous. There have been some nasty accidents over the years here in this first turn in Madison.
Mark Evans with the good solid lead now. Wait a second, from this angle, Steve David seems to be moving back up again.
Well, it's that angle. That's our camera way down in the second turn past the bridge. And Mark Evans is really cruising here. He has a nice lead.
We got the excitement just for the moment. Now we can see he has built up a good solid lead, coming around one last time, and he'll head for the checkered flag. But it's got to be a bit encouraging for Steve David and that entire Jim Harvey crew to see the boat running a little bit better with each heat.
Well, they did the same thing in Seattle. They started out slow, and by the time they got into that third heat, they were running very, very fast. And of course, we know what happened then.
Yeah, we hope that doesn't happen again here. That would be upside down. The good news is, again, all he had to show for all that was a broken toe. And I guess he was a little bit embarrassed. Mark Evans in the Pico American Dream, our winner in Heat 3A, and that is still a perfect day so far for the Pico team. Here's Mark Webber bringing the master tire in one last time, and that's going to get him a third place finish, I do believe. Unfortunately for Mike Webber, not able to go in this one. So 1,200 points so far for Pico. And that at this point puts him ahead of the Budweiser. Freddie 750 down to the dock with Steve and Mark.
I don't want to jinx you by pointing out you've had a perfect day so far.
Kind of noticed that myself. Nothing like having 3 good heat wins right off the bat. Pico team's doing great with me and keeping the boat running in really good manner. So now we're ready for the final, so we can pull that one off too.
First, we'll see if Dave Villwock can make it 3 straight heat wins when we come back with our Speed World coverage. Welcome back to Madison, Indiana. Ralph's Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas, the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup on the Ohio River. John Nicholson with Steve Montgomery. We're getting set for the start of Heat 3B.
Once again, the red boat, the Miss Budweiser, will be the target of this team. The local favorites, the Miss Madison, who have had the luck of the draw, if you will, racing the Budweiser team for the 3rd time today. Last heat out, you saw a boat we called another local favorite, and it certainly is the piston-powered Master Tire, which is based in Evansville, Indiana, just a few miles from here. Driver Mark Webber, last year's Rookie of the Year in the Budweiser, part of some breaking news this week in the UHRA. Here's John with that story.
Here in Madison is the last time we're likely to see Mark Webber driving the U3, the piston-powered Master Tire. The boat's going to keep on racing for Ed Cooper's team, but Mark's got himself a new ride. It's the boat that was the close call, the boat that Mark Tate drove to victory in the last event of 1997 in Honolulu for Steve Woomer. Steve, of course, died earlier this year when Woomer Racing was shut down. Now the boat's been sold to Kim Gregory, the owner of the Unlimited Light Wildfire, and he has chosen Mark Webber as his driver.
Kim and Debbie Gregory went and bought Steve Woomer's U10, the close call, so we're going to go testing next Thursday and Friday in Pasco and get ready for San Diego. I'm really pumped up about this deal.
How good can this team be?
It can be #1. I really feel confident about that. We got Jim Lucero, we got all the best Woomer stuff. We're going to go to San Diego and sort of learn and meet everybody, and then from there we're going to build a team for 1999. We're testing already for 99 is the way we're looking at it.
It looks like you're going to lose your driver.
Yeah, Mark's got an opportunity to go drive for another team, and he did a real good job for us, and I don't blame him to get a chance to get a contract, make a lot of money. That's what it's all about.
The boat's on the water for the running of Heat 3B. As you can see, we are well inside the 5-minute gun. We'll have that action for you when Speed World coverage continues.
Welcome back to the Ohio River in Madison, Indiana. Budweiser in the middle lane. Miss Madison on the outside, coming down to the start of Heat 3B. Dave Villwock trying to make it 3 heat wins in a row, but look at Michael Hansen drive the Miss Madison.
A perfect start, apparently great boat speed, and he has a bit of an overlap on the Budweiser. Look at this shot. Oh, he might have shut him off there. He closed the door a little bit on the Budweiser. There's Villwock struggling through the rooster tail, but the Madison is going to have a big lead now as they go up the backstretch. We could have an upset in the brewing here.
Well, Dave has got the Budweiser up and running again, but Michael Hansen appeared to cut it in pretty quickly after getting that terrific start from the O'Doul's Eye in the Sky. We saw a very unusual sight as any boat ahead of the Budweiser, and still at this point, the Miss Madison is ahead. We've yet to hear, though, from the officials on this as Dave tries to catch back up in the Bud.
We are hearing some discussion from the officials above the race course. There is no doubt the Budweiser, his lane went away. The question is, how much of an overlap did Mike Hansen and the Madison have?
Mike Hansen now on the inside and still ahead of the Budweiser. Let's get aboard with Dave Villwock. Here's what it looks like under the bridge, and he's looking at the rooster tail from the Miss Madison.
And now, here comes the call on the radio. The Miss Madison has been disqualified. It has been determined that Mike Hansen did not have the 5 boat lengths necessary to make that move inside on the Miss Budweiser. He was close. We'll go to our O'Doul's Eye in the Sky and show you the boats as they come down the front straightaway. The Madison on your left, the Bud on the right. Now, unless he has a 5-length lead, he has to leave a lane for the Budweiser. The ruling is that he has 4, count them yourself, so he is disqualified for cutting off the Miss Budweiser. 1 more boat length, and we'd have had a major upset here.
A really good look at that from the O'Doul's Eye on the Sky. Michael Hansen truly pushing Budweiser inside. Now here's how it looked from inside the Bud.
You are driving into a wall of water at about 195 miles an hour. I don't care how many times you've done it. That has to be a little scary. That's what Dave Villwock saw.
Which was not a whole lot. That's a tribute to Dave's experience, not to have just gone off the course, but he knows what to do. Now back to the action, and the Budweiser is moving up ahead of the Miss Madison anyway.
Remarkable job of coming back. I'm sure that Dave Villwock at this point has his back arched, his head bowed over the steering wheel, and I'm gonna get him kind of attitude. He went right by him on the front straightaway.
Water's getting a bit rougher, by the way, as we go around and look from the O'Doul's Eye in the Sky at the lead that Dave Villwock now is opening up here in Heat 3B over Miss Madison and Michael Hansen.
I'm sure Mike Hansen has also been told on the radio about the disqualification, so he knows at this point there is no reason to race that hard. I'm sure that's one of the reasons the Budweiser was able to go by him so easily.
What this also means is that Dr. Ken Muscatel in the Northwest Unlimited, a boat we've not mentioned up till now, is going to take second place in this heat. There's the Miss Madison, terribly disappointing. Mike took a chance, and it didn't pan out for him.
But you have to hand it to Mike Hansen and the Miss Madison team. After a year on the beach, they are not the least bit intimidated by the Miss Budweiser. Mike Hansen doing what he could to get his boat ahead of the Red Rocket and try to win this heat.
I think the Madison team would like any potential sponsors out there to know that they're going to run hard no matter what. Dave Villwock, your Heat 3B winner, and so he has matched the Pico American Dream with 3 straight, setting up a terrific showdown we would expect in the final between those 2 boats, the only boats that have won events so far this year on the UHRA circuit. And here is the aforementioned Dr. Ken Muscatel picking up second place in his Northwest Unlimited. A pretty good drive for him in this particular heat. The boat looks good, doesn't have the speed of the top ones, but Ken and his team have done a terrific job, that all-volunteer team on the Northwest Unlimited. Here's a look at the damage done. Look there on the right side tail fin of the Budweiser as we check the results. A perfect 1200 for the Budweiser. Let's go down to the dock and Steve to talk with Dave.
David, that's a nice recovery after your lane went away.
Yeah, we ran through a lot of those this year, though. Miss Budweiser's running good on this Rouse Las Vegas tour, so even though we got washed down a little bit, we were able to come back from the back.
Coming into Madison, Bo Scheid and Team Alamo already had wrapped up the points championships and the Unlimited Lights for the 2nd year in a row. So they're trying something new here, a 2-speed shift. What's that do for you, Bo?
Well, basically it allows you to have better acceleration in low gear, which can help you get quicker starts. And then once you get across the start-finish line, you can upshift in the high gear and maintain your top RPM.
And so far, so good. 2 heats, 2 wins for Bo Scheid and Alamo. Next is the Unlimited Lights final.
But before we get to that, little conversation going on between Bernie Little and Michael Hansen, and Steve is standing by.
Were you saying I'm sorry, or it wasn't my fault?
No, I was explaining to him. I mean, I obviously took Budweiser's lane, but I did it at the start-finish line. Dave drove himself into a hole down there that didn't exist, and he got wet.
Tough call. Will that affect you for the final? I haven't figured it out.
Yeah, it'll probably take us right out of the final.
Well, we will see about that. What we're going to see next is can Bo Scheid do it again with the lights? Stay with us. Our Speed World coverage continues. Welcome back to Madison, Indiana. Mike Jones, owner of Carpenter Communications, on your left. Fred Leland, the owner of Pico, his crew chief Ken Dryden looking on as we get set for the start of the Unlimited Lights Final. Some of the best racing we've seen all year has been in this category, Steve.
The Alamo team with that new 2-speed transmission has been very tough in the preliminaries, but look at the start here by Tommy Thompson in the Country Boy. He's way outside, but making a great start, and Bo Scheid in the Alamo, they're in the middle of the field.
3 times around a 1 2/3 course for these Unlimited Lights. They are automotive-powered boats, and they make a great noise and terrific competition. Here's an example of it right here.
Now, at some point in that turn, the Alamo has shifted into low. Bo Scheid just pushes a button on the steering wheel. Look at this move right there. That's almost unfair. We're going to see this in all the boats if they want to be competitive. Tremendous low end.
There is the Country Boy, Tommy Thompson driving, and Bo out to the lead as we split the screen and go on board the Alamo.
At some point, just about mid-race course, he shifts into high, but look now, here comes the Miss Leroy, Randy Haas. Where did he come from? Suddenly, he's challenging the Alamo at the top end of the race course when Bo is in high gear. So that's a bit of a surprise right there.
Now as we come down the front straightaway, Bo starts to open it up. This Miss Leroy, by the way, is the Haas family's older boat. They've got a brand new one they expect to debut at the San Diego races, but they've got that one going pretty well here in Madison.
Their new boat, pretty much a copy of this one, a Jamie Alt hull coming out of Canada. It will be a lot like the Alamo. The Haas family, very good engine builders, and they are likely to step it up a bit when they get that new boat in San Diego.
2 views once again of the Alamo and from inside the Alamo. A boat that is not in this final, unfortunately, came all the way from Kelowna, British Columbia. StormTech Canada presents MissVino.com. Mike McClellan, the guy from Kelowna, who brought his 2 brothers into crew for him, but they had difficulty in the opening heat and could not make the final. How much does Mike love hydro racing?
Mike McClellan has a son named Madison, named after the town that was one of his favorite races. As a youngster, you know, he'd like to be running here.
He is not, but the spirit of Kelowna is with him as we take a look at Mark Webber driving the Apex Industries along with Tommy Thompson and the Country Boy now closer to you. Apex on the inside, trailing well behind this boat, Bo Scheid and Alamo.
This Ohio River race course, a little bit narrow for the Unlimiteds, a little bit narrower than their ideal race course. A very good shape for the Unlimited Lights and pretty good water for the smaller boats as well.
Bo Scheid and the owner, Ned Allen, who is the also interim commissioner right now of Unlimited Hydroplane Racing, decided to come here and do some testing. Having wrapped up the points championship already, looks like the testing is being passed, Steve.
Well, they're testing the 2-speed transmission. We had heard talk years ago of some Italians experimenting in boat racing with a transmission. Now you start to wonder, John, if everybody is going to have one in order to run with the Alamo.
Apex Industries boat, Bob Larimore boat, has yet to finish a final this year. This would be nice if Mark Webber could get it done. Driving again this week in place of brother Steve. Here's Randy Haas in the Miss Leroy. Close behind, but not close enough, the Alamo, which now is officially our winner of the Unlimited Lights race on the Ohio River in Madison, Indiana for 1998. Miss Leroy, Randy Haas, a terrific job of driving second. And guess what? Mark Webber has done it, taking third in the Lights final in the Apex Industries. Unfortunately for Butch Nace, he is not able to finish. Charlie Wiggins in high pressure, coming in 4th here. And here's the guy who puts the pressure on everybody else, Bo Scheid. Little victory lap for him in the Alamo. Your winner once again. He's getting about as used to the winner's circle as Dave Vilwalk in the Budweiser in the Unlimiteds. So Alamo first, Miss Leroy is second. Apex Industries getting it done. Then High Pressure and Country Boy. Let's go to Steve and Bo.
Well, how about that 2-speed? I got a feeling you like it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's working pretty good. It stuck in once. I lost my radio contact, and my mirrors weren't really just right, so I wasn't sure. Duff always calls and tells me where people are, and I wasn't sure, so I just gave it a good, comfortable wide and was trying to transmission out, and I don't know where I ended up, but we brought it back in one piece.
You ended up in 1st place.
Well, I knew we were ahead, but I didn't know how far, and normally Duff will tell me and give me a readout. After about 30 seconds, I just couldn't hear anything. So I just gave the boat a ride and let nature take its course.
Well, we'll see you out west.
Okay, thanks.
Now, it's the unlimited final. A little wink from Mark Evans, the Pico American Dream. He is 3 for 3 in heats. So is Dave Villwock in the Budweiser. And here's Dr. Ken Muscatel making his way out to his boat, the Northwest Unlimited. Steve caught up with Dr. Ken during the last break. We're going to leave you now with his comments on the position he has in the final here in Madison. Those finals coming right up.
Well, Doctor, we commented before the heat that you'd had a kind of a tough time with the draw. Now the turn of events appears to have put you in the front row for the final.
Yeah, we feel very fortunate. Consistency pays off in the Las Vegas Ralph's Unlimited Tour because you've got to be able to perform when you're called to the curtain. So we did it, and I'm happy. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I think today we're a little more lucky than good.
Welcome back to Ralph's Thunder Tour, presented by Las Vegas, the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup on the Ohio River in Madison, Indiana. John Nicholson with Steve Montgomery getting set for the finals here. Mark Evans and the Pico American Dream, the first boat heading out onto the water for the final. 3 heats, 3 wins so far for Mark. The same story for Dave Villwock and the Budweiser. A different story for this boat, the Freddy's Club. Steve David, the driver. Just 4 weeks ago in Seattle, one of the scariest moments we've seen, probably the scariest this year. Around the far turn, Steve got light and over the boat went. Of course, we now know just a broken toe for Steve David. Some very serious damage for the boat. Brooke Tyler, the 4th here, crew member, looking up, working on the assessment. How bad was it? Could they get it fixed in time to race here in Madison? One of the first things Steve Montgomery checked when he got here.
Jim Harvey's racing team is based way up in the Northwest in Seattle, Washington, but a couple of the key members of the team are from Massachusetts. Brooke Tyler III has been with Jim for several seasons now, but I want to talk about the 4th, your son. He was in on this 3-week thrash, and I imagine he could use some sleep.
They've had an awful lot of work out there in the Seattle boat shop. I'd get to the office on the East Coast and be in the office at about 10 o'clock, and Brooke would call me and say, hi, well, we're just going to go to bed now, and I'd started my day, and this was day after day, 7 days a week. So the boys that were out there really did a heck of a job putting it back together.
He's been doing this virtually all his life.
Started as a little kid in diapers, and worked his way up, and then we had to take a few years off in the late 80s, early 90s. He went to school, finished up with school, and wanted to come back, and Jim had an opening for him, so he came back.
Jim, that's a long thrash to get from where you were to here, huh?
Well, that was probably the longest 3 weeks that we've experienced in repairing a boat. It's like starting a winter project and ending in, in May before the season starts. We did it in 3 weeks, so.
Any concerns about any changes that you might have made in the boat?
No, we just hope that all the seams are strong enough and that we don't open any of them up.
It floats.
That's the start.
But there's more. This update just moments ago from Steve.
The good news for Steve David and Jim Harvey in the Freddy's Club Prime Star boat that they had made the final heat was followed immediately by some concern here when they discovered a crack right behind the repaired section. Jim Harvey, can you tell us the prognosis here? How bad is it?
Well, it's not bad. It's just broke the outer cloth. The inside is still attached. It's a design in the repair that I made a mistake in, and we can correct it in Seattle, but this will be strong enough to hold it for the final heat.
Talk about your hard work. Talk about your confidence in your crew. There goes Steve David now heading out onto the water to race in the final here in Madison. Today's Alamo Almanac is brought to you by Alamo Rent-A-Car. It's drive happy time again. Ready, set, go.
When you mention the Miss Madison racing team, racing in Madison, the locals, at least the old-timers, think back to 1971. The Gold Cup contested the July 4th weekend right here on this same Ohio River racecourse, the familiar bridge in the background, as the fire-breathing, piston-powered monsters thunder down the front straightaway. That's an early edition of the Miss Budweiser. On your right, the yellow Miss Madison in the foreground, driven by Jim McCormick of nearby Owensboro, Kentucky, the late Jim McCormick. And this boat, the Atlas Van Lines, driven by Terry Sterrett, had a very good day, winning several of the preliminary heats. The Madison, in the meantime, also doing well. A second place, a first after another boat was disqualified, another second place, and that set up a dramatic final heat. Coming out of the first turn, McCormick, a dramatic move to the inside, and the Madison went by the favored Atlas Van Lines, opened up a big lead, drove to victory and into the history books. Jim McCormick and the Miss Madison, the 1971 Gold Cup champions, right here in Madison, Indiana, as some of the 13,000 residents who were also owners of that boat looked on. Terry Sterrett would take second in the Atlas Van Lines 2. Miss Budweiser finished third. The celebration that started that day in the pit area really has never stopped, as the old-timers here still want to talk about the 1971 Gold Cup.
The Alamo Almanac has been sponsored by Alamo, where renting a car is fun. Let Alamo put you smiles ahead with drive-happy deals and services. ESPN Speed World coverage of the UHRA Budweiser Indiana Governors Cup has been brought to you by Ralph's, first in savings, first in Southern California. By Las Vegas, anything can happen and usually does when it comes to special events. And by O'Doul's non-alcoholic brew. It's what beer drinkers drink when they're not drinking beer. Minute and a half left on the clock. The boats mill about here on the Ohio River for the final of the Budweiser Indiana Governors Cup. There's the Pico American Dream. This will be a 4 boats in the front, 2 boats behind start, Steve.
The race course not wide enough to allow more than 4 boats safely to negotiate that first turn. So it'll be 4 boats in the front row. The 2 trailer boats have to start 10 seconds behind the front row.
As we come down to a minute to the start, the Miss Budweiser will be in the front row, as will this boat, Freddie's Club Prime Star with Steve David. A nice position after some tough going earlier. The Pico American Dream and the Northwest Unlimited with Dr. Ken Muscatel in the second row. The Master Tire, the 5th boat, and the 6th will be the hometown Miss Madison, which tied in points with the Carpenter Communications but had less time racing in the heats, and therefore it is in, and the Carpenter Communications is out. Heading down now towards 30 seconds to the start of the race. They've got their lanes pretty well selected. Let's go down to the dock where Steve Montgomery is all set to get us lined up.
The draw has not given us the Pico American Dream and the Miss Budweiser in the same heat all day. Now in the final, they will be. Can Mark Evans and the Pico make a bonsai start like the one in Kelowna and run with the red boat? Can the Chihuahua, Steve David, and the Freddie's Club Prime Star be a factor? Here's our winner-take-all final heat.
Pico in lane 1, Budweiser in lane 2.
And a great start by Mark Evans in the Pico. He crept slowly up the backstretch, took lane 1. Right now he is ahead, and he is in control of this race, as you can see from the first turn view from our O'Doul's Eye in the Sky.
Into the backstretch for the first time here, the Kentucky side of the river. Pico running out hard and fast. Budweiser on the outside of him, trying to make up the distance quickly. So far, not able to do it is Dave Villwock.
Pico apparently able to match the Budweiser in shoot speed right there, which is a very optimistic sign for the Leland team. You see the Budweiser back in the rooster tail now. He has a long ways to go to get around the Pico, and Mark Evans is going to make this race course as wide as possible for Dave Villwock.
Boy, he's really pushing him out there, Steve.
Whoa! The Budweiser ran right over one of the outside marker boys. There may have to be a call there one way or the other. The Pico pushed the Budweiser way out wide. May have been a little too wide, John.
We've talked so many times about how Mark Evans will run it tight to the buoys. The exact opposite here, pushing Budweiser out so far that Villwock maybe had nowhere to go but into that buoy.
Even coming down the front straightaway, you can see the Pico is in about lane 4, and the Budweiser just has room to run inside of those outside marker buoys. Now the Bud trying to make up some of that distance. Still no call. We are waiting to hear from the officials whether the Pico is okay at this point.
Pico still in the lead. Budweiser well wide around that turn. I can just see Dave Villwock inside the cockpit with his teeth gritted say, oh, I'm coming to get you now, Mark Evans.
The Pico is running very, very well, and if indeed there is a penalty assessed, Mark Evans is going to be very disappointed because it appears that he can just about run with the Bud. Here we have now our O'Doul's Eye in the Sky view. You see the Pico, then the Bud. Well, the Budweiser may have slipped out a little bit further than he had to, so we'll have to wait for the call on this one, but you can see what happened. Now remember, the driver on the outside has to react to the boat on the inside. It's impossible to carve a perfect turn right there. Dave Villwock obviously had no idea.
Here comes the buoy.
He couldn't see a thing when the water cleared away. The buoy was there. This will be a tough call, and we're going to have to wait to hear from the officials on that one.
And in the short time it took to watch that replay, Dave Villwock has come up and blown right by Mark Evans on the Pico American Dream, and Budweiser now leads this race. And in fact, Villwock coming up here on lap traffic. The Master Tire with Mark Webber.
That is Ken Muscatel in the Northwest Unlimited. He is running third on the race course. He has now moved up into second because we have received word that the Pico American Dream will be penalized 1 lap for pushing the Budweiser out a little too far. So move the Pico back. The Budweiser's in the lead. Dr. Muscatel is second, and Freddie's Club will be running third.
Dr. Ken earlier in this program talked to us about being consistent, keeping on running. It looks like it's going to pay off for his team right here. But here, once again, the Budweiser. Dave Vilwalk from the O'Doul's Eye in the Sky, now running it nice and smooth, not too tight. He's got a good solid lead, and he plans on keeping it that way.
When the red boat is out ahead, nobody is going to run him down. But we had some excitement there for a while as Mark Evans on the inside took control of things. Had he not pushed quite so far, John, we might have a big story developing right here.
We've seen over and over again the sometimes friendly, sometimes tense rivalry between Dave Vilwalk and Mark Evans. Mark, of course, who drove the Bud a couple of years ago, and Dave drove the Pico, then reversed. Ken Muscatel just keeping that boat going. Now back in second place, and the Master Tire running strong with Mark Webber driving.
The Master Tire also moves up a spot, but he is in danger of being lapped by the Pico American Dream, which will move him back down. You see the Pico still running second on the race course, but there are other boats ahead of him now as a result of the penalty.
Dave Vilwalk crosses the finish line, takes the checkered flag, another championship for the Budweiser team. Here's the Miss Madison, which now finds itself in third place. Steve David spun out in the last turn. Down the bottom of the results, you see the Master Tire did not make it to the end. Dave Vilwalk did. Steve's with him.
David, that was fast and loose.
Yeah, Mark Smith and the Budweiser crew, they really set that boat up to really fly, and that's what we did. We put her on the outside and used all the mile per hour it had in it, you know. And this morning, August 3rd, came in to sort of inspect what we were doing, and he was pretty happy when we left, but I'm sure he's a lot happier right now. He really helped us push us out front. He's a heck of a motivator, and our hats off to him, Budweiser, Ralph's, Las Vegas, all that helped put on this tremendous race.
And Bernie, all that flying is okay with you?
Well, no, it isn't, but there's not much I can say about it now after he won. I would have a hell of a time holding him down now.
Congratulations.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. There goes the guy.
The O'Doul's High points, Budweiser running away with it now. The race appears to be for second, and to keep up with that points race, think about this. Become a member of the UHRA Thunder Club. Just call the number on your screen. Promotional consideration for the UHRA has been provided by Holiday Inn Express Madison, by Motorola Racing Radios, and by Bruce Coach Custom Conversions. For Steve Montgomery, I'm John Nicholson saying so long from Madison.